If you're incorporating any kind of strength or movement training to supplement your running, I applaud you. A lot of people are missing or really neglecting that aspect of their training. But at a certain point, we need to make sure we're taking the next step in progressing movements to make things more challenging, to really just improve strength, stability, balance, all these other factors, because we can't stay at the same exercise, do that continually week after week for months, for years, and think that we're getting any better or more of an adaptation from that. So what I want to do today is show you 3 exercises that I see which are commonly done that I think should be at some point within 4 to 8 weeks progress to that next step. So if you've been doing this exercise and you haven't progressed it, this would be a good video for you just to see, okay, what is that next step that I need to jump to continue to improve in some way. The first exercise is the clamshell. Again, very traditional, highly prescribed exercise from a rehab standpoint, but also for runners to target that glute med, glute min, okay, in the hip. So when we look at the clamshell, just to show you, make sure, again, our name and terminology is the same for this. From the sideline position, ankles, knees, and hips are stacked. All I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna rotate up, try to engage and strengthen through the back of the hip. Again, I can make this more challenging by adding some kind of band on to that, both knees, to again resist that top leg coming up. Again, very good starting exercise, but by no means is this an exercise that you need to continue with for months or for years. Again, it's something you can check back in on occasionally just to see, okay, am I firing through the right areas? Is there any difference from side to side? But a very good or suitable progression of that clamshell is into this modified, what I call the modified lateral elbow stabilization. So if you go side-lying, pulling the legs back so knees, hips, shoulders are in this nice straight line here, so it's a modified side plank. From there, pushing the body away from the ground, I'm gonna lift the hips up into a side plank, and we're trying to target, you think of the clamshell, glute med, glute min, muscles on the outside of the hip. So I'm going to actually straighten out my top leg, and I'm going to lift and lower my top leg. So what I'm doing, and there's not really a focus on that top leg necessarily, as it is the bottom hip. The bottom hip has to fire to push the limb, the knee, into the ground. So this lateral core, this hip are firing, contracting to keep me upright in that position. So instead of an open chain hip strengthening exercise, now it becomes closed chain, my knees on the ground, I'm feeling that bottom hip fire as I push down. That is the next step on increasing the demand through those muscles. Same exact muscles used, a little more challenging because now you're going against a portion of your body weight, and once you become better at that, you can go to the full version lateral elbow stabilization, that now you're really using core, lateral hip, the gluteal muscles, then to hold the body up into that position. So that's a great progression, or 2 progressions there, of the traditional clamshell exercise. Okay, the next exercise I see people really stuck on, which you technically can be depending on how you're loading the movement, but it's the squat. Okay, we can go regular body weight squat, we can go goblet squat, front squat, back squat. There's so many variations. We can continue to increase load on that, but if you're not increasing weight on that movement, at a certain point that body weight squat really isn't helping you too much, okay? We need to continue to increase the demand on the body to get it to adapt. So what I recommend in that case, if you're either afraid to, or you feel like you've gone up to a certain point where either the barbell, dumbbell, anything like that is just not your thing. It's too challenging. It's too weighted on the shoulders for whatever the reason. We can go to more split stance or single leg movements. So I like to go into the split squat isometric hold. So if we go down to the bottom of a pad here, kneeling down, again, don't need a pad, can go to the ground just for comfort for that bottom knee. I always like to set up with the bottom ankle underneath the knee, back knee underneath the back hip. So I'm in that position to start. That's why I like to start at the bottom, because I can get the position. And then from there, slight lean forward, because we want majority of our weight, 60, 70, if we get a little more % of our body weight towards that front leg, rather than feeling that back leg having to push into the ground. This is more of a support leg. This is more of our working leg. So from here, slight lean forward, and just gonna lift up about 2-3 inches off the pad and just hold that position. 20, 30, 40 seconds. Okay, once I get better, I increase endurance and strength in that position. I can add dumbbells, then drop the time back down. So now go 15, 20 seconds, heavier weight, and now holding through there. Okay, so that's a great next step from doing traditional squats, still a knee dominant movement like the squat, but now we're switching to more of a split stance, which we're gonna develop better stability around the hips that we don't get being in that bilateral position of the squat. Once we master that split squat hold, teach the body how to really control that low position, we can go and then go to split squats. Okay, going through the full range of motion, doing that both sides, again, anywhere from 4 to 15 reps, depending on where you are within your program, within your training. I can add dumbbells to that, either here in front or by my side, okay? But trying to get to that point, that low point where the front thigh is parallel with the floor. But that is a very good progression of the squat. And I definitely recommend, if you're still doing squats, adding the split squat in there, because getting that different emphasis in the split stance where you're getting a different challenge on the hips from a stability standpoint, that could really add a lot of extra value to your program. The third exercise that people, specifically runners, are doing too often and too long without progressing is just the traditional calf raise. Great exercise, need to make sure you have calf strength and endurance, but at a certain point, just doing body weight calf raises is not enough unless we're adding a lot of repetitions to that. So in that instance, what we can do is, again, add weight to the movement. If we want to add dumbbells as heavy as possible and really build good strength through the calf, going to some kind of single leg version would be good. But what I really want to talk about today is ankle hops. Ankle hops are this plyometric or power-based movement throughout the calf. And if we look at running and shock absorption, propulsion, just the way we absorb force and push off throughout that running cycle, the calf is one of those big areas which really needs to have those traits, okay? So ankle hops is a power-based calf raise that we're actually gonna get off the ground, jump in the air, land, quickly absorb the force, and then get up as high as possible each repetition, okay? So we're not doing this low jump off the ground. We're actually going for power and for height on each one. So explode. Nice, quick. You can see how I'm really trying to shorten that phase between the lowering and the jumping, but you don't have to string together a lot of repetitions. Sorry, the microphone's dragging me down. You don't have to put in or do a lot of repetitions. When we're looking at power or more explosive movements, keeping that low, anywhere from 4 to 10 repetitions on the ankle hops would be good. Not necessarily doing 10 to 20, because as you start to fatigue, you lose that elasticity, because obviously there's more fatigue in the calf. We're not gonna be able to get up as high, so it doesn't become as beneficial. So keep the repetitions low and work on getting in the air as quickly as possible. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Leave them below, email me. Just let me know what's going on with your program, because I want to see, are you continuing to do these basic exercises without moving forward, or do you do a good job progressing? Because in the end, we need to continually challenge the body to make it better. Same thing with your running program. If you think of mileage building up to an upcoming race, we don't always just run 3 miles and then hope you can get ready for a half, right? Every week there's usually an increased demand on the body to get you to that point. So I really want you to think of your strength training in the same way. Am I continually increasing the demand on the body to get better, or am I stuck at that point which is really no longer providing me any kind of positive adaptation to become stronger or more resilient? So let me know any questions or comments, leave them below, and I hope you have a great day.